Hey guys, it's MMA Vulture coming at you live with UFC 308 weigh-in recap, as well as my final predictions for this week's bouts. And we're going to go ahead and jump into the first bout of the night, being Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Carlos Leal. And in this one, I'm going to stick with my boy Fakhretdinov. I think that he's going to be the better grappler. I feel like he's going to have the grappling advantage. I feel like in terms of striking, it's going to be very close in the striking department. I feel like Carlos Leal, yes, has the knockout power over Fakhretdinov, but is a little bit less technical. Yes, he's still a good striker. In the grappling department, he's all right in the grappling department. He's not terrible. He's not great. But Fakhretdinov is just known for his pressure wrestling, and I feel like he's going to do that here against Carlos Leal. He's going to smother him, pressure him the entire fight, use those takedowns, mix in the striking that he has, and find those level changes into the takedowns against Carlos Leal. Carlos Leal looked good in the weigh-ins, but I think Rinat Fakhretdinov is going to use that wrestling to his best abilities, maintain control of Carlos Leal, keep him down on the ground and pound him, and get the better of him in a close 29-28 decision. I really feel like that's how it's going to go. I feel like Carlos Leal will be able to squeak out one round, but I feel like Fakhretdinov's grappling and wrestling is going to put him ahead of Carlos Leal, and if he has any problems on the feet, he will use that grappling ability he has and beat Carlos Leal that way. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos, in which we have Carlos Leal first, and then we have Rinat Fakhretdinov, who looks healthy, he looks jacked, he looks great right here. He looks ready for war against Carlos Leal, he really does. And as you guys can see, they both look jacked, they both look healthy, they both look thick. This is going to be a great war between these two. It really is. I think Rinat is definitely going to beat Carlos Leal. I think it's going to be the grappling that is the key factor here, and he's going to be able to maintain control of him and land some nice ground and pound and beat him. And let's go ahead and look at the odds for this fight, in which we have Rinat Fakhretdinov sitting at a -225, Carlos Leal sitting at a +190. I like Rinat Fakhretdinov. I also like the overs in this. Like I said, I feel like it's going to go to the decision. Over 1.5 sitting at -425, over 2.5 sitting at -230. I like the overs in this. I really think that Rinat and Carlos Leal are going to go to decision. I feel like Fakhretdinov is going to use that wrestling to his best ability, keep Carlos Leal down, and maintain control of him, pepper him with shots from top control, advanced positions as well. And Carlos Leal will look good in the striking department, but I feel like Rinat is going to have some moments too in the striking department, and I feel like he's going to get the close 29-28 unanimous decision. And let's go ahead and move along to the next bout, in which we have Bruno Silva versus Ismail Naurdiev. And I'm going with Ismail. I think that he is the better striker out of the two. I feel like he's the more technical fighter out of the two. I think that he's got slick striking. I feel like he's got a good stiff jab. I know Bruno Silva is good as well with his striking, but I feel like sometimes he throws looping shots. I feel like sometimes he gets a little overzealous, overextends. He's a decent grappler with strong takedowns, but I think Ismail Naurdiev is just better in every aspect. He's going to have the speed advantage here against Bruno Silva. He's going to have the grappling advantage. I feel like he's going to maintain control of him. I feel like he mixes up his shots a lot better than Bruno Silva with nice snappy kicks. I think Ismail Naurdiev is just better than Bruno Silva in all aspects, and that's why I'm going with Ismail Naurdiev. And let's go ahead and look at the photos, the weigh-in photos, in which Jesus, mouse doesn't know how to work. Which we have Bruno Silva here first. It looks good. He's pointing to the name on his wrist. He looks healthy. He looks strong. He looks ready to go to war with Ismail. It's going to be a very interesting fight. And as you see here, we have Ismail Naurdiev showing up his flag, holding up his flag. This is going to be a great, great fight between these two. And let's go ahead and look at this, where they had an intense face-off, dude. They were literally like head-to-head, just against each other. Intense face-off between these two. It was insane. And we're going to go ahead and move along to the odds for this fight, in which we have Bruno Silva sitting at a plus 150, Ismail Naurdiev sitting at a negative 175. I like Ismail. I think he's better in every aspect. I feel like he's going to be the more quicker fighter. He's also going to be the more explosive fighter out of the two. I think Ismail is going to show that he's got the striking and the grappling side of things. And the over 1.5 sitting at a negative 190, over 2.5 sitting at a plus 105. I like the over 1.5. I see a lot of value in the over 1.5. Over 2.5 is getting a little bit riskier, I feel like. I really do see value in the over 1.5. I think Ismail Naurdiev definitely could end this early. So definitely take that into account for the over 2.5. Give me Ismail Naurdiev to beat Bruno Silva in a great back and forth battle. And let's go ahead and move along to the next bout, in which we have Fakhretdinov Basharat versus Victor Hugo. And Victor Hugo actually missed weight, and then now they're doing it at a catch weight. So I am on, obviously, the side of Fakhretdinov Basharat. I feel like there's no other way to go with this. Victor Hugo is a good striker, but again, Fakhretdinov Basharat is just better in every aspect. I feel like he's got the slicker striking out of the two. I feel like Fakhretdinov Basharat's striking is a little bit slept on. He's got great striking. He's not really a knockout artist, obviously, but he has his moments. And in the grappling department, he has a clear-cut grappling advantage. I feel like he's going to be able to maintain control of Victor Hugo, take him down, pepper him with shots, maybe even end this via ground and pound or even submission. I feel like Fakhretdinov Basharat definitely has all the tools to end it early against somebody like Victor Hugo, and will do so. I honestly believe he will do so. And let's go ahead and look at the photos, the weigh-in photos here, in which you have Fakhretdinov Basharat looking jacked, looking healthy, looking lean. He looks ready for war against Victor Hugo. He really does. And let's go ahead and move to the next one, Victor Hugo. As you can see, he's jacked, he's lean, he's healthy. He looks ready for war as well. But he's going up against the beast in Fakhretdinov Basharat. As you can see, things got intense again. They're getting up close, personal. These two definitely don't like each other, and it's definitely going to be a great fight between these two. And let's go ahead and move along to the odds on this fight, in which we have Fakhretdinov Basharat sitting at a negative 725 and Victor Hugo sitting at a plus 525. I like Fakhretdinov Basharat. I think that he has the tools to end it early against Victor Hugo. I think he could submit him. I think he could ground and pound him. I think he has a lot of ways that he could finish this fight, and I feel like he's got the speed advantage. I feel like he's got the grappling advantage. I feel like he's got the striking advantage. I'm definitely going to be tuning into this fight, and I think it ends early. I think that I could see Fakhretdinov Basharat ending Victor Hugo. Give me Fakhretdinov Basharat to beat Victor Hugo. And let's move along to the next bout, in which we got an interesting one in Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Chris Barnett. And I'm going with Kennedy. I think he's going to beat Chris Barnett. I think that he has the height advantage. He has the striking advantage. He has the reach advantage. He has every type of advantage you could have in this fight, to be completely honest. I really think that Kennedy is going to knock out Chris Barnett. I mean, I feel like Chris Barnett isn't even going to be able to touch the chin of Kennedy. That's how outrageous this reach is and this height difference is. It's insane. And I feel like Kennedy, yes, hasn't really been doing the best as of lately, because he got beat by an old OSP and knocked out by Dustin Jacoby, but I feel like he can knock out Chris Barnett. I mean, he literally has every advantage you could have in a fight, and I think that he's going to absolutely rock Chris Barnett. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos here, in which you guys can see Chris Barnett. He's a little chubby. He's definitely chubby. He looks healthy though. I mean, he looks happy. He looks ready for war against Kennedy, who is definitely a tougher opponent than Junior Tafa. I think that Kennedy's going to beat the crap out of Chris Barnett. And let's look at Kennedy on the scales. Looks jacked. Looks lean. He looks ready to absolutely destroy Beast Boy. And let's look at the face-offs here. As you guys can tell, he has a insane height advantage. And I wish they could put out their arms in this photo to see the insane reach advantage as well. Like, it really is insane how much of an advantage Kennedy, has in this fight. And let's look at the fight odds on this, in which Kennedy is a negative 800. I feel like rightfully so. He literally has every advantage you could have. Height, reach. He is an absolute dog in this. I feel like, yes, he hasn't been the best as of lately, but they're putting him up against somebody who hasn't fought in like 2 years, who hasn't been looking the best, who keeps pulling out of fights. But Kennedy is going to get it done here, and I think that this goes under 2.5. I like the odds on that. I think that Kennedy finds a way to put Chris Barnett out. Give me Kennedy to beat Chris Barnett. And let's go ahead and move along to the next bout, in which we got a banger in this one. Abus Magomedov versus Bruno Ferreira. And this one is an absolute war between these two. I'm going with Abus Magomedov. I feel like he's the cleaner, more technical fighter. I feel like he's got the better striking. I feel like he's got a quick, stiff jab. He's got the knockout power. I feel like he's also more precise than Bruno Ferreira. I feel like that is one of the key factors. He is way more precise than Bruno Ferreira. He's got good grappling to go along with his good striking. I feel like Abus Magomedov has a lot of aspects to where he could take Bruno Ferreira down. He could maintain control of him. I feel like Bruno Ferreira is a fast starter. He's going to be dangerous early in this fight. I will say that. But he throws wild. He sometimes overextends and leaves his chin open and gets hit. I really feel like Bruno Ferreira is a little bit less technical and less precise than Abus Magomedov. I feel like in the grappling department, I feel like Abus Magomedov has a grappling advantage. I feel like in terms of the gas tank for both of these two, as the fight goes on, they're both not the best cardio-wise. But I'm going to give it a little bit of an edge to Abus Magomedov. I feel like he's going to have a little bit better of gas tank than Bruno Ferreira, because Bruno Ferreira tends to just go all out in the beginning and then just doesn't really know what to do after that. So I'm going to go with Abus Magomedov to beat Bruno Ferreira. And I think that this honestly goes to decision. I really do. And let's go ahead and look at the photos here, the weigh-in photos, in which we have Abus Magomedov first. He looks jacked. He looks lean. He looks healthy. And let's move along to Bruno Ferreira. I don't know why they got these out of order. And as you see, Bruno Ferreira, same thing, looks jacked. He looks lean. He looks ready for war against Abus Magomedov. This is going to be an absolute striking fest, an absolute war between these two. And let's go ahead and look at the face-offs, in which you can see Abus Magomedov definitely has a slight height advantage. And it's going to be a war between these two. So let's look at the odds here, in which we have Bruno Ferreira sitting at a plus 125 and Abus Magomedov sitting at a negative 145. I like Abus. I really do see value in the money line. I like the over 1.5, but I also feel like it could end early. Like, I see this going to decision because of the fact that these two are both great fighters, both not chinny, but they both have knockout power. They both are insane strikers, so it's like, I think that this goes to decision. I think it's going to be a back-and-forth battle between these two, but I very well could see a finish, so I'm going to lean away from the overs. on this fight, but I will say I do like Magomedov money line at -145. I got Magomedov over Bruno Fiera. And let's go ahead and look at the next bout, in which we have Myktybek Orolbai versus Mateusz Rębecki. And you already know who I got. I got my lock of the week in Orolbai. He's going to beat the crap out of Rębecki. Rębecki is a good striker with knockout power. He's a tree trunk, like I said before. He's an absolute tank. But in the grappling department, Orolbai has the advantage. In the strength-wise, I feel like Orolbai is definitely going to be stronger than Rębecki, who, yes, he is strong, but I feel like he just has that fucking strength, if you know what I'm talking about. Orolbai is that dog. He has that dog in him. I feel like he's going to be the better striker here. He's going to mix up his shots way better than Rębecki, who sometimes throws a really, really wild, throws looping shots, gets very overzealous. His grappling is very suspect. That's why I'm going with Orolbai. I really feel like he has the obvious grappling advantage. He's going to maintain control of you if he gets you down. He's the better grappler here. In the striking department, he's the better striker in the sense that he's more technical. He's more precise. He mixes up his shots to the head and to the body way better than Rębecki. I feel like he's got this in the bag against Rębecki. Yes, Rębecki is going to be dangerous early with that power, but I feel like if Orolbai takes him down, maintains control of him, will diminish that power of Rębecki slowly, and Orolbai will take a dominant win over Rębecki. I think it's going to be 30-27, to be completely honest. I think he's got the obvious grappling advantage and the striking advantage in the sense that he's more precise and technical than Rębecki, who's wild and throws looping shots at points. He's going to be dangerous early in the fight, but other than that, I think Orolbai's got this in the bag. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos here, in which we have Rębecki here first. Looks jacked, as you guys can tell. He looks lean. He looks ready for war. He's throwing up the... looks ready, man. And then we got Orolbai with his flag and his hat on. He looks ready for war. He really does. He's going to beat the crap out of Rębecki. I'm telling you. He's got the striking advantage and the grappling advantage. Striking advantage in the sense that he's more technical and more precise and slick on the feet. And let's look at the face-off here, in which you could tell Orolbai is slightly taller, very, very slightly. But again, I think that he's going to be the more precise and technical fighter here. And let's look at the odds on this fight, in which we have Myktybek Orolbai at -335. Rębecki sitting at a +275. I like Orolbai, like I said, a lock of this week. And over 1.5 sitting at a -260. Over 2.5 at -125. I like the overs in this fight, but I also think Orolbai could end it early against Rębecki. But I'm going to say Orolbai via decision. I think he's going to get a dominant win over Rębecki. I think it's going to be 30-27 unanimous decision for Orolbai. And let's move along to the next bout, in which we have Neal versus the old Rafael dos Anjos, the veteran. And I'm going with Neal, the hands of steel. I think he gets the better of the older Rafael dos Anjos. I think that Rafael dos Anjos is coming to the end of his career. I think that Neal is on the come up. He's a clean technical striker. He's got knockout power. I think that he's got quick, clean combinations. I feel like that's where he's going to shine here. He's going to mix in those body shots to RDA. I feel like he's also going to mix in that grappling. I feel like that's going to be one of the key points here. Mix in those level changes. He's going to be the more explosive and quicker fighter over RDA. I think RDA, like I said, coming to the end of his career, the later end of his career, he's a good striker. He's decent in the sense of grappling. He's good at takedowns. He's got decent takedown defense. I feel like RDA is just going to get beat by a younger, up-and-coming Neal, who just has the speed and explosiveness at his advantage and will grapple him and take him down, pepper in those ground-and-pound shots, mix in a little bit of striking on the feet and those body shots on RDA as well. I think that Neal is going to beat RDA. I really do. This fight didn't really make sense either because Geoff Neal destroyed Vince Luque and Rafael dos Anjos lost, but it's whatever. And let's move along to the weigh-in photos here, in which we have Geoff Neal first. He looks jacked. I mean, what can I say? He looks jacked. He looks healthy. He looks ready to go to absolute war with an older RDA, a veteran. And let's go ahead and move along to RDA. The old veteran, he does not look as old as he is. He really does not. He's jacked. He looks lean. He looks healthy. He looks ready to go to war against the young Geoff Neal. And let's look at the weigh-in, or the face-offs. And this is going to be an absolute banger between these two. I have a lot of people that are saying RDA, then a lot of people are saying the young prospect Geoff Neal. I got Neal in this one, but I could see why you go with RDA. And let's go ahead and look at the odds on this fight, in which Neal is a -280, Rafael dos Anjos at +240. I like Geoff Neal. Like I said, I feel like he's got the grappling advantage. I feel like in terms of striking, he's going to be the quicker, more explosive fighter on the feet and be able to enter and exit the pocket with ease against somebody like Rafael dos Anjos, who is coming to the later end of his career, isn't moving as fast. Give me Geoff Neal to beat Rafael dos Anjos in the over 1.5 sitting at a -385, over 2.5 sitting at a -205. I like the overs in this fight. I feel like Geoff Neal is going to grapple. I feel like he's going to take Rafael dos Anjos down. I feel like this is going to go to decision, and I feel like Neal is going to get the 29-28 decision. I could see Rafael dos Anjos getting a round over Neal, but I think Geoff Neal is going to pull it off. He's going to be the better striker. He's going to get the better in the grappling department. He's going to get the better of Rafael dos Anjos in the grappling department, and in the striking department, give me Geoff Neal to beat Rafael dos Anjos. And let's move to the next bout, in which is an interesting one because they actually moved this one up from being the first fight in Aibo Aslan versus Rafael Sequeira. And I'm going with Rafael Sequeira over Aibo Aslan. I feel like Aibo Aslan is a good striker, but he sometimes gets wild and overextends. I feel like he's got the power. He definitely 100% has the power. I mean, he's got 11 first-round finishes. But I just feel like in terms of grappling, he's also got questionable grappling. He lost to Anton Turkaligi and then beat him in his last bout, knocked him out. But I still think that Rafael Sequeira is the more technical fighter. I feel like we're going to see that here. Aibo Aslan does have that knockout power and those hammers, but again, fails to put himself in positions to use it to his best abilities. I feel like Rafael Sequeira is slick on the feet. He's going to show that. He's going to be the slicker fighter here. He's going to get the better of Aibo Aslan, piece him up from the outside, maintain distance, pick him apart. He's a phenomenal counter striker. In Rafael Sequeira, I feel like he's going to mix up his shots really well. He's going to use that grappling ability he has too over Aibo Aslan, because I think that he has a clear-cut grappling advantage. And I feel like Rafael Sequeira is going to get it done against Aibo Aslan. And I could see why people are on the Aibo Aslan route, but again, I'm not on it because he's a little bit wild at some points. Yes, he's got the knockout power, but doesn't know how to use it to his best abilities. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos here, in which we have Aibo Aslan first. As you guys can see, looks jacked, looks ready for war, looks like he's screaming. And then let's move to Rafael Sequeira. Looks phenomenal. He looks jacked, he looks lean, he looks good on the scales, as you guys can see. I think this is going to be an absolute war between these two. This is why Dana moved it up in the card. He knows how good this fight is going to be between these two. These two are going to put on an absolute war, a brawl, before the main card to try and get those pay-per-view buys up. These two are going to absolutely slang and bang and mix in a little grappling exchanges, and most of it's going to be on the feet. And let's look at the odds between these two, in which we have Aibo Aslan sitting at a +110 and Rafael Sequeira sitting at a -130. I like Rafael Sequeira. I see a lot of value in him. I could see you adding him into parlays as well. I think Rafael Saketa is going to be the more technical fighter, the more precise fighter. He's going to get the better of Ibo Aslan on the feet. And Ibo Aslan, yes, has the power again, but fails to put himself in places to use it to his best abilities. Over 1.5 sitting at a -120. Over 2.5 sitting at a +260. I would stay away from the overs on this fight. I mean, dude, you got two absolutely dangerous strikers on the feet. This could end early. I think Rafael Saketa is going to get the better of Ibo Aslan. I think he could put him out, and I feel like he's the more precise striker, and he's got the counter-punching abilities to dominate against Ibo Aslan. So give me Rafael Saketa to beat Ibo Aslan. And let's go ahead and move along to the next bout. In Shada Magomedov versus Armen Petrosyan, the first bout to start off the main card. And I'm going with Shada the Bullet Magomedov over Armen Superman Petrosyan. And in the press conference, it got a little interesting because Shada knows that Armen's going to definitely probably shoot right away. He knows that Armen knows that Shada doesn't have the best grappling abilities. But, again, Shada even called it out that he's going to be destroying the body of Armen Petrosyan with those kicks. He's going to mix in those kicks. He's going to mix in those high-low calf kicks, high head kick. Shada is going to mix in those kicks with his striking, and I feel like that's a key factor to him winning against Armen. He's got to mix in those kicks, but he also has to make sure he doesn't get caught in the mix of throwing those kicks. And Armen Petrosyan could take him down in that mixed. But I feel like that's not going to happen. I feel like Shada is going to be able to maintain distance, strike from the outside, pepper him with shots from the outside, use those kicks to kind of keep him at bay and keep him guessing. And also, we could see Shada mix in some level changes of his own against Armen Petrosyan and take him down. It's not like Armen Petrosyan is the greatest grappler ever. He's not. He doesn't have like the greatest grappling abilities. I think Shada's going to be the slicker fighter on the feet in terms of striking. I think he's going to have the speed and striking advantage. I feel like in terms of takedown defense, I feel like he's got all right takedown defense. I feel like Armen Petrosyan isn't the greatest grappler, so I feel like Shada is going to be able to snub some of Armen Petrosyan's takedowns and keep him at bay, maintain distance, outstrike him, and use those leg kicks. Give me Shada to beat Armen Petrosyan. And let's look at the weigh-in photos here, in which we have Armen Petrosyan first. As you can see, he looks good on the scales. He made weight. He looked healthy. He looked jacked. He looked phenomenal. But he's going to get beat by the better Shada Magomedov. As you guys can see here, made weight, looks jacked, looks ready to go against Armen Petrosyan. And I think Shada is going to get this done. And let's look at the face-off here, in which it got intense here. Shada getting closer to Armen during it, and it was definitely interesting. The press conference was interesting too, seeing Armen saying that he's going to take him down, and he's going to try not to use the grappling as much, but Shada knows as soon as those body kicks start letting off, as soon as those snappy leg kicks of his starts popping off, Armen's going to try and shoot for those takedowns because he's going to get hurt, man. And let's look at the odds here, in which we have Shada Magomedov sitting at a -164, Armen Petrosyan sitting at a +144. And I like Shada, like I said, he's got the striking advantage, he's got the speed advantage in terms of grappling. I think Armen has the grappling advantage. I think Shada is going to be able to fare well in the grappling department against somebody like Armen who doesn't have the best grappling abilities, and will definitely have the striking advantage. Give me Shada to beat Armen. Over 1.5 sitting at -450. Over 2.5 sitting at -275. I like the over in this fight. I actually think it's a very live odd to happen. I really feel like this definitely goes over. I think Shada could lose a round to Armen, but I think Shada gets the 29-28 decision over Armen Petrosyan. I think this goes to the cards. And let's go ahead and move to the next bout in Lerone Murphy versus Dan Ige. And man, I would try to pick Dan Ige because, dude, I'm a big fan of Dan Ige. I've always been. I feel like he's a great fighter that is tough, durable, just tough as nails, man. Will step in on moments notice, does not give a crap, will slang and bang, will absolutely just put it all out on the line. Like he did against Diego Lopez in their last fight. But I think that he's going up against the young prospect who is a dog in Lerone Murphy. He's a solid kickboxer with great striking. He's got clean, quick combinations, which I think is going to be the key here. I think Lerone Murphy has to use those combinations to piece up Dan Ige, because I feel like Dan Ige is a great striker, and it's going to be very interesting on the feet to see these two bang it out. I think in terms of grappling, I think Lerone Murphy has a grappling advantage. I think he has solid takedowns, and I feel like he's going to use that against Dan Ige, take him down, mix in level changes with his striking, take Dan Ige down, maintain control of him, pepper him with shots, advanced positions. I think that we could see Lerone Murphy take a 29-28 unanimous decision over Dan Ige. I really think that it's going to be a hard-fought brawl between these two. I think Dan Ige could definitely take a round. That's why I think it's going to be 29-28 Lerone Murphy. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos here, in which we have Dan Ige first. As you guys can see, jacked, healthy, made weight, ready to go against Lerone Murphy. I'm hyped for this fight. This has the potential to be fight of the night for sure. This is definitely one of those fights I'm definitely going to be keeping a close eye on. And let's go ahead and look at Lerone Murphy. He looks jacked. He looks healthy. He's putting the finger up. He's ready for war against Dan Ige, the tough, durable Dan Ige. And let's go ahead and look at the face-off between these two, because it was intense. These two were up close and personal, getting in each other's face. Dude, this is going to be one of the better fights on this card. I'm telling you. I am hyped for this one. And let's look at the odds here, in which we have Dan Ige sitting at a plus 210, Lerone Murphy sitting at a negative 250. I like Lerone Murphy. I think he's going to have the grappling advantage. I think he's going to be the quicker fighter. I think that Dan Ige and Lerone Murphy in the striking department are going to be very close. It's going to be interesting to see the striking, how the striking goes between these two, but I think Lerone Murphy has the grappling advantage. I think he's going to mix in those quick combinations, mix in the level changes with those quick combinations, take Dan Ige down, maintain control of him, and get the 29-28. I could see Dan Ige getting a single round. And the over 1.5 sitting at negative 700, over 2.5 sitting at negative 400. I definitely see this fight going over. In terms of value, you're not getting much value, but again, I think it definitely happens. I think Dan Ige is one tough, durable-ass fighter. I don't think that Lerone Murphy's going to put him away. I do think that it's going to be a tough-fought battle between these two, in which Lerone Murphy takes a 29-28 unanimous decision. Jesus, I can't talk. And let's go ahead and move along to another banger fight. Man, this card is absolutely stacked from top to bottom, in which we have Magomed Ankalaev versus Aleksandar Rakić, and I am going with Magomed Ankalaev. I really feel as though he's going to be the better striker, because Aleksandar Rakić fares better in maintaining distance and striking from the outside. That's just how his fight style is. He's better at range. He's better, like I said, from range. And I feel like Magomed Ankalaev is a little bit better on the inside, with the inside boxing, the dirty boxing, with the elbows, the knees, everything in that sense. I feel like it's going to favor Magomed Ankalaev. And I feel like Aleksandar Rakić is going to fare better in this fight than he did, obviously, against Yuri Prochazka. I feel like it's going to be a lot closer than people are thinking. I feel like Ankalaev, yes, needs a knockout, but I feel like Aleksandar Rakić is going to be able to maintain control or maintain distance and kind of keep him at bay. But as this fight goes on, it's going to favor Magomed Ankalaev. I feel like Aleksandar Rakić at the beginning will be very scary, but I feel like Ankalaev is going to be able to close that distance, eat at that distance, pepper him with shots, land those dirty inside boxing, clinch up with Aleksandar Rakić, land some nasty elbows as well. And I could see Magomed Ankalaev also using that grappling ability of his to take down Aleksandar Rakić and land some nasty ground and pound on him. Like I said, Ankalaev needs a dominant performance to get Alex Pereira, and I could see him doing it here. Aleksandar Rakić, again, early in the fight, can I be worried because of how good he is early and how explosive he is early? But as the fight goes on longer, I'm going to favor Magomed Ankalaev, and I think he's going to get it done. I think he's going to be able to close the distance against Aleksandar Rakić, find those body shots, find the inside boxing, find those elbows, maybe even find a takedown in the mix and ground and pound Aleksandar Rakić. And let's look at the weigh-in photos here, in which we have Aleksandar Rakić, as you can see, healthy, made weight, looks absolutely jacked. Going to be a war between him and Magomed Ankalaev, as you guys can see here. Looks jacked, looks ready for war, looks a little lean. It looks good, man. This is going to be an interesting fight between these two. And let's look at the face-off, in which you can see Aleksandar Rakić is actually slightly taller than Ankalaev. But Ankalaev looks a little bit thicker than Aleksandar Rakić. This is going to be a really interesting bout between these two. And let's look at the odds, in which Ankalaev sitting at a negative 380, Aleksandar Rakić sitting at a plus 305. Wow. I do like Ankalaev. I think that he's a good parlay addition. I feel like Moneyline, you're not really getting as much value, obviously, so throw him in a parlay. I think he beats Aleksandar Rakić. I think he's way better in the striking, in the dirty boxing aspect, and in the close distance striking aspect. I think it's Ankalaev. But again, Rakić is better at maintaining distance and striking from the outside. But I think Ankalaev is going to be able to close that distance and enter and exit the pocket with ease against Rakić. I think he's going to use that grappling advantage as well, take him down, maybe land some devastating ground and pound on Aleksandar Rakić and beat him. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 410, under 1.5 sitting at a plus 280, over 2.5 sitting at a negative 200, under 2.5 sitting at a plus 160. I like the under 2.5 at plus 160. I think this definitely ends. I think Ankalaev needs this to end early. He's going to go out there and try and put on a dominant performance so that he can get that shot against Alex Pereira. Give me Magomed Ankalaev to beat Aleksandar Rakić. And let's go ahead and move along to the next bout in our co-main event of the evening in Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. And we all know who I'm going with. I'm going with Khamzat Chimaev. I think that he has the clear-cut grappling advantage. I feel like Robert Whittaker has decent takedown defense, but hasn't been up against a wrestler like Khamzat Chimaev. I think Robert Whittaker is obviously a dangerous striker with precise striking. He's definitely technical in the striking aspect and definitely explosive. He's got a lot of power. He's dangerous. He's definitely going to be dangerous early in this fight. But I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to use that grappling advantage to his ability early in this fight. I really believe so. I really believe he's going to take Robert Whittaker down really early in this fight, shoot for a takedown, get him down, maintain control of him, overwhelm him, make him uncomfortable, kind of diminish on that power of Robert Whittaker, because that's all what we're going to be scared of in the first round or two. We're going to be scared of Robert Whittaker's power to knock out Khamzat Chimaev. But I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to diminish that power by taking Robert Whittaker down to the ground, making him uncomfortable, draining his energy, and just advancing positions, peppering him with shots, landing some ground and pound. I think Khamzat could find a submission on Robert Whittaker. I really believe he could find a submission. In terms of the gas tank, I feel like Khamzat is going to be a little bit questionable come later 4th round, 5th round. But I think in terms of rounds 1 through 3, he's going to be solid. In terms of beginning of 4, I think he's still going to be solid. I think as later 4 comes, we're going to see him be a little bit slower. But I think he's still going to be able to fare well against Robert Whittaker. I think he's going to grapple, fuck him, and just take him down to the ground and maintain control of him. And let's look at the weigh-in photos here, in which Khamzat Chimaev looks jacked. This is Khamzat Chimaev 2.0. He made weight. He looked good. He had everybody worried in that in the weigh-ins. Everybody's like, "Where's Khamzat? Where's Khamzat?" Because he's taking forever. But he came in. He came in on weight as well. He looked good. He looked jacked. He looked healthy. I'm excited for this co-main event against him and Robert Whittaker. And let's look at Robert Whittaker. What is this photo here? What is this photo here? And then we got Robert Whittaker, jacked, healthy, He looks mean. He's mean mugging the camera. He knows. He knows that he's in real trouble against Khamzat in the grappling department. As you guys probably saw in that press conference, he acknowledged that Khamzat is definitely one of the greatest grapplers in the division, in the UFC in general. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how he fares in the grappling department. And let's look at the face-offs, in which it got intense. These two were absolutely up close and personal, breathing in each other's face. These two are out for blood. These two both want the title shot. And they got to do what they got to do. Let's look at the odds here, in which we have Robert Whittaker sitting at a plus 195, Khamzat Chimaev sitting at a negative 230. I really like Khamzat Chimaev. He's in my confident picks. I think that he gets it done against Robert Whittaker. I think he has the obvious grappling advantage. He's going to use that grappling to his best ability. He's going to take down Robert Whittaker, maintain control of him, pepper him with shots, advance position on him, and beat him. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 220. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 110. I like the over 1.5 in this fight. I think that it does go over. I could see Khamzat Chimaev getting a submission, which is why I want to show you that real quick. I think Khamzat Chimaev is live to get the submission. I really do believe he's live. At plus 225, great value in that. So definitely look at that. Keep that in mind. And I like Khamzat Chimaev to beat Robert Whittaker. I think he uses the grappling abilities of his to beat him, smother him, make him uncomfortable, and get the better of Robert Whittaker. And let's go ahead and move to the main event. And if you guys haven't, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And let's jump into the main event in Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. And I got to stick with my boy in Ilia Topuria. I wouldn't say my boy because I want Max Holloway to win. But if I'm being realistic, I can't ignore Ilia Topuria's ground game. And I feel like he has a grappling advantage. I feel like in the striking department, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it goes. I feel like Ilia Topuria is a little bit slicker on the feet. I feel like in terms of power, it definitely leans towards Topuria's power side. Max is a great boxer. He's a great technical boxer. He's got good striking. He doesn't really have that knockout power per se, which is why I'm kind of leaning towards Topuria in the striking aspect. Also, he's a little bit slicker, I would say, for the Topuria. That's also why. Give me Ilia Topuria to beat Max Holloway. I think I can't ignore the grappling side of things. I think Topuria is going to mix in takedowns and mix in level changes with his striking. He's going to also, one of the keys is mixing in those body shots to Max Holloway, kind of eating away at that midsection of his. I think Ilia Topuria is going to beat Max Holloway. It's definitely going to be a interesting one on the feet in terms of the grappling. I think Topuria definitely has a grappling advantage. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-ins, in which you see Topuria looks jacked, looks healthy, he looks lean. He literally has been saying he's going to knock out Max Holloway this entire time. He has not deviated from what he said, not once. He's been saying that he's going to knock out Holloway. I really feel like the power of Topuria is going to give problems to Max Holloway, and the body shots are definitely going to be a key factor in this. And let's look at Max Holloway. I don't even got Max Holloway on here. What is this? There we go. As you guys can see, Max Holloway looks jacked. He looks healthy. He looks lean. I think he's a little bit better of a 155er, but we're going to see how he fares against Ilia Topuria. It's going to be an interesting one to say the least. I think in terms of striking, like I said, it's going to be fairly even. I think Topuria has the power and will mix in those body shots. I think that in terms of grappling, it's Topuria for sure. I think he's going to have the grappling advantage. I think he's going to mix in those level changes and get the better in the striking department over Max Holloway. And let's look at the odds on this, in which Topuria is sitting at a negative 280. Max Holloway is sitting at a plus 240. I like Ilia Topuria. I can't ignore the ground game. I think he's got the grappling advantage. I think in terms of striking, it's going to be fairly close. But it's going to favor Ilia Topuria a little bit with the slickness and the power. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 400. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 200. I like the over in this. I think that it does go the distance. But again, be scared because Ilia Topuria has not deviated from what he said. I think he could knock out Max Holloway. Again, Max Holloway has never been knocked out in his career in 30 plus fights, so it's going to be interesting to see if Ilia Topuria lives up to what he says and can knock out Max Holloway. And also, let's see if Ilia Topuria lives up to what he said in the sense that he's going to point to the ground in the first 10 seconds and want to slug with him. He wants to. He's a badass motherfucker. He wants to. And if you guys haven't, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.